Hello everybody, I'm Stephen Milikowski, and I've given a few presentations. I love talking about cycling, so happy to be here. Thanks for coming. I've cycled for about 6,000 miles total for touring, but yet there's always someone who's gone further. And if you ever want to talk serious touring, talk to David Byrne on those wonderful bike rides on Monday and Thursday night. They're a relaxed ride. I highly recommend them. So during this presentation, I'm happy to answer questions about more advanced riding or touring techniques, but mostly I want to focus on, I've kind of gone full circle at how do you start out. I want to explain how can you go from the absolute beginning basics to get started. So this is the bike I toured across the country on last summer, but I have forgone my fancy Ortlieb panniers, which are about $100 each, and a lot of my other stuff, and everything here you probably have in your home, especially if you're a hiker. If you've hiked, any kind of hiking or backpacking, you are like 80% of the way to do bike touring if you want to give it a try. So you all have some old backpack laying around that can hold some good gear. You probably have a tent, and these, yeah, what are these funny things? I've become the rather strange, how can I say, known for kitty litter pail panniers. Now, I don't even have a cat. Now, cats are great, as I used to have one, but what I did, I learned that people can use kitty litter pail panniers as a low-cost starting point for touring. So the Ortlieb panniers I have, the very waterproof and nice panniers I have, those are about $100 each, and there's 4. These are about $20, and you can put fun stickers on them to make it more personal, right? So when I went across the country last summer, I saw these in action with a few cyclists. And so this isn't just for playful, silly stuff. People cycled 4,000 miles putting their gear in here. So seriously good stuff. If you're interested in some, I make them for people. Send me a note. My name's on the Rovers website for past presentations. Otherwise, my email is cyclewriter@outlook.com. Or just see me around or ask around. So, kitty litter pail panniers. I'll give you a brief description so you can kind of see what's going on here. They're waterproof, they seal nicely. I put a couple hooks on them, and then this bungee cord goes down and connects to the frame so that when you hit a bump, it doesn't go flying off and you lose your gear. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is kind of take some of this apart to see what I pack and how I pack it. And please stop me if you have any questions at all. So again, my purpose is what you could prepare for a weekend bike trip with stuff you already have. Okay, everybody has bungee cords laying around, so I grabbed some of those and I secured this gear. I took this gear out a couple times just like this, once to this wonderful it's a bunkhouse, I forget where it's located, about 70 miles north of the Twin Cities. So I cycled 70 miles with this configuration, it worked great. I've also gone to Orion State Park with this exact same configuration. Alright, so I'm just going to pull some stuff off, show you how it's set up. Before I finish, I should say this is where I keep my quick access stuff. So I have my sunscreen, easy to get to. My repair kit is in here as well. If I get a flat or if I need some other gear, I put all that in this backpack. My rain gear, I put in the backpack to get to it fast. I couldn't fit this anymore. This is my sleeping mat, so I it went in there. Tools, pump, repair kit, spare tire, and more tools. So that's pretty well my quick access. And of course, then when I'm on my campsite, I have a backpack. That's always kind of nice. I use a standard REI tent. I think it's in the low $100 range, but it works great for me. I see the REI half dome tent used a lot, but you can talk with anybody here who can have more knowledge of tents than I do, but it's worked fine. I haven't needed an elaborate tent.
But it's a 2-person, right? I mean, it's
a 2-person tent.
yeah.
Yes, I do see people with 1-person tents. Of course, it's lighter. I love to write. I have an active cycle blog, which is cyclewriter.com, and so if I get rained out, I want to sit in my tent and write or read, and so I have some more space. But that means I'm carrying more weight. You all know that from backpacking.
But it's trade-offs.
It's trade-offs. Oh, here, by the way, I'll just sort of pan these around if people want to look at them. They look quite a lot like a kitty litter pail with a couple things hanging off of it. But there you go. Anybody want a magazine to Adventure Cycling? This is free. I do some support work for them. Anybody want one? There you go. Anybody else? Yeah? All right, here you go. You're welcome. Great organization. They offer rides that are everything from unsupported rides to fully supported rides, hotel to hotel, and they carry all your gear. All right. So I'm kind of packed right now for a weekend bike trip. I always have a laptop because I love to write. Cooking gear. This is going to look a lot like backpacking. Camp sandals. This is a stove with fuel in it. I put a little red cap on it. Kind of gets my attention. It's like, okay, be careful with that. I use these bags a lot for a couple reasons. They're waterproof bags, and so if I do have to open my panniers in the rain, this is still going to stay dry. And then I put tags on them, so I know what's inside here. So this is cycle gear. I don't have to open every bag to figure out what's inside. In there is a change of jersey, change of bike shorts, I think a change of socks. So this is my cycling stuff. I was in the military, the Air Reserve for 5 years, and so I call this my civvies. That's camp wear. But, you know, basically I cut off milk cartons so it being really cheap, and I just write on the tag. So I mean, you can be more elaborate, but I want to put my money into getting on the ride. So I have less flashy stuff. What's that? This is my gadgets bag. I'm a recovering techie. So in here, something I really recommend for backpacking or bike camping, you get a battery for your phone or for your camera. I just went to Amazon, I saw what the bestseller was, and I picked it up. The solar panel is barely useful. If I put this in the sun for about a month, I get a bar of power. And I get a bunch of cables. I use a Garmin a lot. The learning curve is horrendous for a Garmin, but I like them. So I have a backup Garmin in case I use that because navigation is important, of course. So gadgets. And this one's empty. It hooks onto the frame. As you can see, the hooks go up to the rack. Over here, what do we got? Backup bag. If I don't have my glasses, I'm absolutely blind. So I always bring a backup pair of eyeglasses. Everybody likes that. Keeps me alive and keeps everybody else safer. Gotta have coffee. Can't mess around with that. I like a metal coffee cup myself because it doesn't affect the plastic. I have a critical plastic cup. And then I shove some cereal or food in there. So I have my cooking my stove bag. I have some sandals. I have my civvies, and I have they're all tagged this way. My cycle gear. This bag is called Intent. Anyone want to guess what that bag's for? This goes in the tent.
Intent. Oh, okay. Tent
A
bag.
little bit of packing humor there. So when I get to camp, I usually, if I'm on my own, the first thing I'll do is I'll get my stove out. So I arrive at a campsite, I get my stove out. It's a standard MSR stove and fuel. I start the stove, I boil the water because I'm going to use that for cooking. And then I put my tent up and I just throw this inside the tent and it's like, okay, I can go to sleep now. Everything I need here is ready to go to sleep. When I get my tent ready and some gear put away, the water's boiling, or I put some rice or some lentils and make some stew or whatever, I can have supper. But in the Intent bag for me is my absolute favorite piece of gear is this. It's a pillow. Don't fill them all the way. You know why? Sore neck. Sore neck. So pass that around. Just feel that pillow. It's great. Those things cost too much.
But they're worth it.
Hey, I'm saving money on the coffee on the plastic tag, so I can buy a $80 pillow, right? What else is in tent? So then I have a little box that goes by the head of my bed, and I have my headlamp, some earbuds, and a lot of gadgetry because I'm a recovering gadget guy. So that's my intent bag. Any questions? I'm kind of going through this pretty fast.
What are you keeping in your front bag?
Up there?
Yeah.
Okay. When I have all 4 of my panniers instead of just 2, one pannier is my kitchen. That's gonna have food and cooking supplies. One pannier is my bedroom, so that has all my clothing. One pannier, a small pannier up here, is my bathroom. That's my toiletries, anything for washing, my towel. And one pannier is my garage.
So for what you've got now, is this just a weekend or an overnight?
Weekend.
Okay.
It's just a weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm probably missing some stuff. But I know I wasn't doing it for real.
So what's it? Did you already empty the other pannier? Sorry.
Is there a question over here, sir?
Yeah. Do you use a sleeping bag or?
Next. My sleeping bag.
Good job, Mike.
Well, this is actually kind of a warm bag.
You didn't answer what's in your handlebar bag.
Sorry?
You didn't answer what's in your handlebar
Oh, I
bag.
thought you asked me for when you said front bag, I thought you were referring up here.
I'm sorry, no.
Okay, I misunderstood. My handlebar bag is kind of a junk drawer. Although it's been getting emptier. So I keep what do I keep in here? I often carry a regular camera along with because I take pictures while I ride. It's just easier with a regular camera. I
Crap.
keep, no, this is actually a good. This little gadget was really, it solved a respectable problem going across the country or through any small country is dogs. You're gonna get chased once in a while. And at first, I got mace, dog mace, which they make for cyclists. But there's at least 2 problems with 3 problems with dog mace. One problem is I'm moving. The second problem, the dog is moving. And there's no way I'm gonna hit the dog when I'm moving and he's moving. Now, since we're outside, I can actually show you what this does. That's what they do. But you look much better. So, yeah, and they're like, hold on a second. I didn't see that coming. Don't like it. Just carry on. I'll let you go. And you don't got to lay on it. One little beep, they're gone.
On pedestrians too.
Right.
Well, then you get the finger from the
It's funny you say
pedestrians.
that. And I love cycling in London, and it wasn't the buses, the cabs, or anything else that concerned me. It was the pedestrians because they could suddenly turn in front of me. Something else I keep in there. I love these things. Sleeves. They're about 30 or 40 bucks. Well, if I get this one kind of backwards, but it's just for keeping the sun off your arms. You don't gotta wear as much
Oh, sunscreen.
sunscreen, and then I swear that I stay cooler in this. Going across the U.S. last year, what's that?
What's the fabric?
I don't know.
Nylon or something.
Nylon? If you can make it, I'll trade you a key to the pannier for a nice cycle sleeve. When I went across the country, I went in one place in eastern Oregon. Who'd have thought? It's massive desert. Well, it was 100 degrees in the shade, and my Garmin said it was 113 degrees over the road with the blacktop. And even then, I liked having these things on. I swear I was warmer. Maybe I was delusional. But a funny thing there is that you have to drink a lot of water, of course. And I drank a bunch, and you get used to drinking hot water. That you just had to. You had no choice. Hot Gatorade, could never keep swallowing it. So that was a Gatorade-free stretch of the ride. Okay, handlebar bag. The handlebar, where'd it go?
It's on top of your
Thank you.
so you don't lose your pair.
Thank you very much. I'm good at losing things. This is kind of my main item. So my wallet and my keys will go in here as well. If you're gonna go for a really long ride, at first I thought, I don't need no stinking salve on my bum. I'm just fine, I'm tough. Wrong!
Really?
So I have a nice supply of chamois butter. Little things like that. You want to get to this fast. I keep things like I use this mirror on my glasses. Stuff like that. Quick access.
Now, do you use the kitty litter pails on the front wheel too?
I could. This bike, this front rack is big enough for it. Just go like that. I would look a little bit too much like a convoy by myself. But usually a lot of stuff, and most cycling recommendations or articles will say distribute your weight evenly. I never see anybody do that. Maybe it'd still be a good idea, but I haven't seen it.
Is there a reason you keep the handles on the pails?
No,
Well, for carrying them.
I guess I
Well-
can carry it. If I have this loaded up with gear, I can carry 2 at a time. But you're right, I could take them off.
How much weight is all that stuff loaded beyond the bike?
I haven't weighed this. When I went across the country, we stopped at the headquarters for Adventure Cycling, and they had a scale where they lift their bike off the ground and they weighed it, and I was heavy with my front panniers on as well. I was at 105 pounds.
Oh my God.
But this bike, good question. A touring bike is heavier, so my bike alone is about 35 pounds.
How do you
That's
condition
smart.
yourself to push that much extra weight?
And that's actually, I started in May, and I was one of the few people from the north of the U.S., so everybody else was retired and cycling every single day for months. I was not, because blizzards were happening, right? But something I teach classes in bike touring through Minneapolis Community Ed and REI. And something I often mention to people in my classes is that there's different kinds of cyclists, right? You get the spandex crowd, they're down there, they're fancy stuff, and they're speeding along, they're like that. You get people who go out for a nice, easy ride, with a nice ride. Well, the bike touring crowd, for me, what we really, really like is ice cream. Serious. I do not pass by. That's just not part of the plan. And I will stop for ice cream. And they'll say, Steve, you need to stop at a mile. I go, okay, fine. But I'll stop for pictures, ice cream. We're not fast. We talk. And that's one thing I like about David's rides.
yeah, you
David's
talk.
cycled around the world twice. He really knows what he's doing. When he runs those Monday and Thursday rides, we talk. We get to know each other. It's a great time. So it's a whole different mindset as opposed to go fast. It's like go and enjoy. But still, I carry too much nonetheless. Other people carried about, their bike and their gear was about 65, 75 pounds.
You got your whole house with you.
Right. Yeah, I had too much. Live and learn. Any more questions?
Yeah, why'd you put the tape on here?
The tape.
Explain
Thank you for
was?
that. So eventually, when these things get used a lot, up and down, this is going to crack. So the tape it keeps it waterproof. And then I went a step further, and I put a layer of tape on the inside. And so it just gives more life to the pannier. I read some blog posts about these panniers, and eventually, after about a year or two, these are going to crack. And the guy said, but if you're on the road and they crack, turn it around, drill some more holes, and put them on again.
Drill the holes now so you're ready to make that.
Yes,
It's not a bad
yes.
idea, but then you
Well, but then they're not.
plug 'em too.
Yeah, then you got to plug them.
Right.
Well, you gotta plug the other one to switch them around
That's
anyway,
true.
right?
Right. Good idea.
Duct tape.
Yes.
I missed the beginning, but on your creations there, is that equivalent, approximate to what you get in a pannier space-wise?
Yes. This is the equivalent capacity to a large pannier
Oh, wow.
for $80 less.
What is the weight difference?
I don't think that much. I wouldn't think that. Yeah, I wouldn't.
They're not that heavy.
No, they're not.
Between this and like a regular.
I haven't compared, but I would say that might be a third as more heavy, but it's not that heavy.
This is a third more.
Yeah, that'd be my
Do you
answer.
sell them without the cat decals on them?
Sorry?
Can you get them
It
without
takes all
the
the
cat?
fun away from it.
Because then it's not a conversation piece.
You paint the whole thing.
These
Yeah,
are,
yeah, that's-
actually decals. What I do instead, as you can see, I fill them full of stickers. And most of these stickers are free. But they're fun. It's kind of fun to have that sticker collection, right?
The
Is there half size?
I have some smaller ones, but they, especially when you put a sleeping bag in, they fill pretty fast. And you don't have to fill them all the way. So
They also work well as a little chair.
they do.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna.
have to put something on top of it because of the unevenness, but I use
Exactly.
them for winter camping.
All right.
So it's a chair.
That fancy tool.
Otherwise, I mean, just typical like good backpacking technique. I put my bag inside my pot, save some space. Towel. Another thing I splurged on in REI was this little toiletry bag because it's light, it's durable, and to me it was worth it. My previous one started falling apart. It was heavier.
So are you cooking on your trips,
I am
or
cooking.
so where's the food? Where's the food go?
The food comes from the grocery store near the campsite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a difference from backpacking in that with touring, we do have access to more facilities, water and grocery stores.
Okay.
When we went across the country last year, and even for weekend rides, I don't pack my food if I can avoid it. There'll be a small town nearby. I'll make camp and then I'll go back and get food. Yeah, I can carry some, but I try to minimize it. If I get really in a pinch, I like packing some lentils and rice. I can boil that and maybe just get some carrots or some veggies and make a strange kind of stew. It works. Yes.
Where are your typical camping sites?
That takes the plan. That's in the planning. So around here, O'Brien Regional Park or State Park.
William
is a
O'Brien.
great campsite. Carver Park is a great campsite.
Or if you're touring, if you're touring, are you doing like a city park or?
All the above. Going across the country, we stayed in churches, Baptist churches on the East Coast. We stayed in, of course, campsites. We stayed in community parks. We stayed in a hotel about once a month. Yeah. And of course, backpacking as well, but you just see where the country's going. More and more people they want to take their big RV with, right? And so you pull off the freeway, they park the RV, and they get back on again in the morning. Well, that means if you're camping, you hear that freeway. And speaking of bringing it all with you, there's a great line in the book, Blue Highways, published in the 70s. The guy drove around the U.S. and he noticed these massive RVs in the 70s. And his comment was, people want to get away from it all and
But
bring
they bring it
over
with them. Yes.
I'm not quite there, but I tried, right? So.
Is there a wine cooler built into this?
You can put it, yeah, absolutely, Gary. You can, if you want wine, you can find a way. That's what water bottles are for, right? Yeah.
See, I was expecting the front bag to be like, you can put a 6-pack in there.
You
right?
could.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're
Yeah.
On the grocery run.
Haven't tried that.
What all tools do you bring?
I don't bring my tool bag.
Well, extra tubes, or
I have 2 extra tubes. Where's my tools? I threw everything around.
you did.
Minimally. Oh, they're in here. I have tube, tire for changing the tire levers, a pump, a pressure gauge, and then I kind of have this mishmash of stuff in an old plastic tub that I need to replace.
You have a chain repair kit?
Yeah. I was gonna
I
say.
don't have a chain repair kit. I've never had to fix a chain. I packed a couple of gloves because things can get a bit messy. These are great.
Oh, I know those.
Tools, highly recommend those. That does have a chain. No, this is a spoke tightener. They make these with a chain remover as well. I found this little gadget at some hardware store in Britain. It's a little, the old plier tool with a couple extras. Oh, gotta have a monkey wrench. You don't leave home without it. Zip ties, not that much. Mostly because it's metal and it's heavy. Question?
Have you found any kind of air mattress that's compact?
Yep,
enough?
absolutely, right here. REI. That's my toy store. So this one, anybody who's done camping, and the Rover Secure Locker has some great mats as well. I can't get this out too easy. It unfolds this way and then this way, and this particular model will fit into a chair that I have. It's a very thin chair. You know those chairs where they like go like this, and they have straps on the side? Well, it's just a frame, and then this fits inside of it to make a soft chair. So the chair itself is about like this big.
Inflates, or is it
This
just like-
inflates.
It does inflate.
Yeah.
But, so
Yep.
you have to. You don't have to blow it up though. Like it doesn't.
It goes to about half to 2/3 way, and then I blow it up. Yeah. But REI has some good stuff there. Any other questions?
Yeah, Steven, how do you go about planning for a trip?
Very good question. When I was in the Air Reserve, I did navigation systems, aircraft navigation systems, so I became pretty good at maps and all that stuff, and then I got into Garmin. So when I was overseas, I could plan my own routes in France and in Belgium. But now what I would do is adventure cycling. Do I have their maps?
So you'd use a
Forgot it.
prepared route.
Sorry? Yes.
You use a route prepared by somebody else that
Right. I can
has
prepare my
identified
own, but adventure
campsites.
cycling does such a good job. And I don't make any money from them. I've just been so impressed. And even people that didn't go on a tour supported by adventure cycling, they use their maps. And their maps fit nicely in the top of a handlebar bag. And they list things that you fold out different pieces to get fit there. They'll show you where the bike shops are at nearby, where the cafes are, the grocery stores are, and the ice cream stops.
Campsites, obviously, right? Or
Campsites.
lodging,
And they'll
whatever.
point out which community parks allow you to camp and which churches will take you campers.
Now, are those maps, what do they cost?
They're not outrageous and they're not cheap. They're also made of paper that you can keep submerged in water for a month, and it doesn't degrade. I don't know the exact price. Approximately $25 per map. Yeah. They also have an app that works out pretty well. Regarding lodging, something else that's really come out lately is warm showers. And so warm showers is like Airbnb for cyclists, and often you stay there for free because they just want to have a cyclist over and talk and hear how it's going. So that and since it's like Airbnb, the host is reviewed and the people that are joining are reviewed. Very good resource.
So, Steve, while you're on that subject, the other thing David Byrne always points out too is if you show up at a state park late at night, they have to find a spot for you.
Right.
If you're
Correct.
cycling or hiking.
That's true, like for all states, pretty much.
Yeah. So, and he likes that because sometimes he ends up in a picnic site, which has
Right.
more space and privacy.
Exactly. Sounds great. I understand that David told me that now cycling has diversified so much to bike camping, which is different than bike touring. Bike camping is getting on the bike trails in the wilderness, which I haven't done a lot of, but I want to. And then there's just like mountain biking, so many ways to get out there. But no, it's great fun. To kind of end where I started, so we have all these long, ambitious trips that are available. And I really recommend checking out Adventure Cycling's website. They have a range of tours available. But to get started, you really can go very simple. And you can just go for a weekend or an overnight. I've done that and had a great time at O'Brien. So it's all here. If you want to check out my blog, I have an intro to a bike touring page on my blog. My blog is cyclewriter.com. And it's easy enough to get started. If you're interested in learning more about my gear, just send me a note. I can always talk about cycling, as you can tell. Yes?
Yeah, it's a question, kind of the psychology of somebody who's never ridden across the country. How do you...
You're more sane than I am, yes.
I mean, like, well, not more sane, but like, do you go 1,000 miles and then like you hit Wyoming and the wind's blowing into your face and you give up? Or it's like the Appalachian Trail, people started and not everybody finishes it. So how have you kind of gone along so that you've been able to get that far all the way?
I used to run marathons, and that's actually a good comparison. Or even a long hike. Think about your long hikes. You didn't start at that distance. You started tiny. But go back to marathons, I started running a long time ago because I gained some weight. I remember when running 1 mile was a really, really big deal. That took me like 2 months to get to that point. But finally I did. And honestly, I just kept on going a bit more until I did marathons. But with bike touring, something similar, I just started with a weekend ride. I made all kinds of beautiful mistakes. It's a great phrase, success is a poor teacher. But I just went out for a little ride, a little further, and then became more confident. And weather happens. Rovers know that, and there's not bad weather, there's bad gear.
So are you okay with like the psychology of just being by yourself the whole time, or do you stop in places where bike riders stop and socialize?
Absolutely. You have to be used to being by yourself. However, so I went across the country with 9 other cyclists, but the people who went by themselves, they actually meet more people. Because you're on your own, and so you naturally talk to people more.
Or they
And
talk.
I'll add to that.
talk
on
to
my
Yeah, they
solo
talk to you,
trips,
yeah.
People always are coming up to
Yeah.
me and asking me what I'm doing. I'm interested.
And when they see a loaded
So
touring
many
bike, it's just a
people that way.
magnet. And we're so unthreatening. It's like, wow, what do you got there? Where are you going?
I was just trying to figure out how you keep going for 3,000 miles.
I talk to a lot of people. I talk to myself too. Yeah. And I listen to audiobooks. When I went across the country, it just so happened that our guide was the president of the board for adventure cycling. And he'd been giving tours for 20 years, so he was pretty well respected and established. He said the rules say no earbuds. He said, but I have to have one. If I don't have my music, I can't do my ride. And so I was always listening to music. Kansas was tough because we didn't take a turn for like a week. Lost in Kansas because you didn't turn. I listened to music. I had some audiobooks. I listened to Grapes of Wrath, which is a strangely pleasant story after cycling straight for a week.
Were you listening to Kansas in Kansas?
I was hearing all kinds of things, Frank. Yeah. But you get used to, and it was incremental. Go out for those wonderful weekend trips. Then all of a sudden it's a 3-day weekend. Then all of a sudden, for me, once you can go 2 weeks, you can go 1,000 miles. Yeah.
Do you have any advice on like an average amount of miles per day for someone who's just beginning? And like how much, let's say you do 40, like how often you should split that up? Like if you should stop every hour? Any thoughts around?
Err on the side of caution and comfort. Really, even though I've gone a long way, pain has never been part of my version of entertainment. That's where the ice cream comes in. So I would say, I can't give you numbers for you, but I would say go out on a bike, go for a ways and see how comfortable you are. Bring some extra water along with, pack a little lunch, and see how far you can go. And do that a couple times and add some distance. And then add some more gear. And I think you'd be surprised pretty soon. I don't go fast. I've always been one of the slower cyclists in my group.
Do you stop? How often, when you were starting off, how often were you stopping?
It probably depended on the terrain. I have no hesitation in pushing my bike up a hill. So no problem with that. The Appalachians and Ozarks are brutal. Going downhills is fun though. My top speed was 51 miles an hour. Yeah, it's not very smart.
No, it's not.
But I would do it again.
Yeah, that's what
It's a
exactly.
crazy steep hill in the Ozark. Hiking or cycling, it teaches you landscapes, right? So at first you learn what a little bit of rain feels like, you learn what the wind feels like. But then all of a sudden you look at a map, you see a river, you know what's going to happen. You're going to go down, right? Yeah, then you're going to go up.
Yes.
Well, at first I thought the Rockies were going to be the hard part, right? Because they're the Rockies. Well, it turns out that they're not the hard part because the grade of the Rockies, I didn't know what grade was. Grade is the angle. 6% of the Rockies, 88. Appalachians and Ozarks, 3 times that, 18%. I'm like, that's just not right. So I get off my bike, I'd push, eventually I got a little stronger, and I changed to a lower gearing system as well. It cost me $40. And so I was going up this hill in the Ozarks thinking, God, I'm doing this for fun, right? And I get to the top and all of a sudden it's like, wow, the ground just like dropped out from under me and I'm like, okay, done. And that's when I hit 51.
Wow.
So
You're
you're
steep in the Ozarks too.
They are.
Very steep.
I never did wear out a set of brakes,
Wow.
which is probably not something to be proud of.
Oh.
Do you have bike shoes?
Yes. I didn't bring them tonight. I have sandals and they have clip-ins.
Yeah.
And bike shoes
I
are.
don't think you could keep your feet on the pedals if they weren't clipped in at 50
Oh, yeah.
miles an hour.
My pedals weren't moving at 50 miles an hour. I was like as stable as I could because if I got up in the airflow, I might.
Yeah.
But
You would have embarrassed
I didn't have clip-ins for the first half, but I met several cyclists who did not going across the country. So, it's not that. There's a lot of variation. Yeah.
So how about bikes? And what do you
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question.
looking
So,
for?
this is a dedicated touring bike and it's heavy. But back to the idea of economy and starting out, any steel bike, possibly an aluminum bike, it can work as long as it can hold a back rack.
Okay.
So take your bike to a bike shop or just look, does it have these little dimple things in the bottom
Okay.
to hold the rack? Then you can use that bike. Carbon bikes tend not to work. They're great for being light. I mean, a carbon bike weighs this much, right? But you can't weigh them down. The frame will crack. But try a bike you already have. See if you can get a back rack on it. Check out the Kiddler panniers or some other low-cost panniers.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I want a bike tour with adventure cycling, I'm quite younger than most of the cyclists. It's usually people in their 60s out there on these long rides. Yes.
With tires, carrying that much weight, do you have to have a certain width of tire in order to support all that?
Not really. Tires have become so sophisticated and carefully built. It's less the weight on the tire, and that people that I cycle with tend to go with a wider tire for the stability, because you're going to come across a bit of gravel. Sometimes there's a shortcut that goes over sand or gravel, and a narrow tire just really struggles with that. If you do get into touring a bit, there's some great YouTube videos on changing a tire, some really good videos. Watch them a few times. It always takes me a few times. If you get more into it, this is the exact same tire I used in my ride across the U.S. I'm still using it. It's a Marathon. It's Schwalbe Marathon Plus tire. There's a great YouTube video with the Marathon Plus tire where a family is on this tire on different bikes going in a circle, and here they go over some tacks, and here they go over some glass, and here they go over some more tacks and more glass, and they keep on doing it. That's because there's some Kevlar or something close to it inside there. It's hard to pound the nail through that tire. Although I did get some flats. Question? Oh, sorry, bugs. So, yeah.
Any problems on the road with theft or anything like that?
Not really.
Okay.
One of my takeaways from long trips actually is that I like being informed by the news, but my takeaway is how good people are. And the news, I'm PBS and NPR, right? I like that kind of news, calm news. Even if people have to yell, I don't listen to them. But even those news sources talk about how many bad people there are. I didn't see many.
The only reason I mentioned it is I know when David Byrne did this, he always carried a fake wallet. If someone ever robbed him, he gave him that wallet and a fake phone.
Right.
So I thought it was a cool story.
It's a great story. I'm just trying to think. I think we had, for 9 of us going across the country, we had one person lose a Garmin because he was charging it in usually tourist areas are more risky. He was charging it in Yellowstone in a shower overnight, and there were 2 large groups of high school kids that were sharing that shower facility. So I'm guessing one of the kids picked it up. But I still make some efforts, but I often leave my bike outside of a convenience store, not attended. When I'm in a group, by myself, I'll watch it more closely. But I haven't had anything stolen 6,000 miles touring. All right, well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed talking, and if you have any questions, contact me. I'm happy to talk.